G'day ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing? Scotty49 here with you once again for another installment in the Warhammer 40,000 for the New Guys series. Now, this is the 20th video in this series, so I expect that you guys know exactly what we're all about with this series. We're going through every faction of the game, talking about how to best get started with them, the place of them in the galaxy, and their core rules, and understand how they can play on the tabletop. And in today's video, we're going to continue our look into the Chaos Space Marines, and we're going to be looking at some options for starting your own army of Chaos Space Marines, where we look at a couple of different options, all under 250 Australian dollars. Now, before we do jump in any further, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everyone that is subscribed over on the channel as of late. I really appreciate the support, and I hope that you are enjoying the content. If you are enjoying the content and you do want to catch more of it, make sure that you subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you do get notified as to when I am releasing more content here on the YouTube channel. But ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into it. Alrighty, so the Chaos Space Marines have got a lot of different kits that you can start off with and choose from for starting a Chaos Space Marine army, and it can be quite confusing to know which kits to start off with. So I'll be talking through 3 different options that I've personally put together, 2 of them, and the Combat Patrol as well, for how to start your own Chaos Space Marine army for all under 250 Australian dollars. Now, always with the caveat, whenever we discuss monetary values in these videos, we are always talking in Australian dollars. So, the first option we have got is the Combat Patrol. Now, the Combat Patrol box has got the following miniatures contained in it. It's got a Dark Apostle with 2 Dark Disciples, 10 Chaos Space Marine Legionnaires, a Hellbrute, and 5 Havocs. Now, the cost of the Combat Patrol itself is $230. Now, I always like to look at the cost of these kits contained within the Combat Patrol, so you actually get an idea of how much money you are saving by picking them up in the Combat Patrol rather than picking them up individually. Now, individually, these kits do cost $326, which means you're saving just under $100 at $96 for grabbing them in the Combat Patrol. Now, when you put everything together to make use of it on the tabletop, you can get a rough maximum, depending on how you equip everything, of 670 points to make use of in your first couple of games. Now, there are a variety of reasons as to why you might want to start off with the Combat Patrol. The first is it's a great amount of points to start off with. With the amount of money that you pay, you're approximately getting about 2.5 to 3 points per dollar spent if you fully kit out everything. The models that are included in the Combat Patrol can make a great mix between both ranged and close combat potential, depending on how you equip the Legionnaires and the Hellbrute. You can legally use all of the units within the Combat Patrol to make a patrol detachment to use for your first few games of Combat Patrol level Warhammer 40,000, which is about 500 points and below. However, there are a few cons to starting off with the Combat Patrol, in my personal opinion. There are some options that the Legionnaires that they can take, but they don't actually come with it in the standard Chaos Space Marine kit that is included in the Combat Patrol. Now, you can completely focus on ranged firepower with all of these units, except for the Dark Apostle and the Dark Disciples, of course, but it might not play as much into the strengths of the Chaos Space Marines that the Codex gives you. So, what I mean by that is, they do perform more close combat heavy styles of play, as we did discuss in the pros and cons video. Now, there are a lot of details on each of these miniature kits, which means that there's a lot that you could accidentally remove when you're actually taking them off the sprue, whether that's the trim on the armor, whether that's any skulls or iconography. There's just a lot that you could accidentally remove when you're cleaning up the mold lines. However, overall, the Combat Patrol is a great starting point for starting a Chaos Space Marine army for your first army, if you choose to start off with a Chaos Space Marine army for Warhammer 40,000. Now, we don't just stop there. I've got the first of 2 instead of the Combat Patrol options, and this first option you can go with instead of that Combat Patrol consists of 3 different box sets, which include the following: the Chaos Lord in Terminator armor, 10 Chaos Space Marine Legionnaires, and 5 Chaos Space Marine Terminators. Now, the cost of this option is $37 for the Chaos Lord in Terminator armor, $98 for the 10 Chaos Legionnaires, and $98 for the 5 Chaos Space Marine Terminators, coming to a total of $233. Now, everything between each of these three kits can come to a rough maximum of 610 points to make use of in your games. Now, I believe that this option has got the following pros to go with it. These kits allow you to have a great mix between ranged firepower and close combat potential between the Legionnaires and the Terminators. The Terminators will also allow you to use some different deployment rules with putting them into reserves and bringing them on later in the game, same with the Terminator Lord. And you can use all of these models to make a legal patrol detachment to use for your combat patrol level games for your first couple of games of Warhammer 40k. However, there are a few cons to starting out with it as well. Much like the Legionnaires in the Combat Patrol, these Legionnaires won't have all the pieces to make some of the options that you can take within a Legionnaire unit, which you will be limited by. The Terminator's rules do have some heavy restrictions on how they can actually be equipped with their weapons, so you're going to want to make sure that you check a codex if you have access to it, or any other rules that you have access to. For example, even looking in Battle Scribe may be a way of figuring out how to best equip and what those rules are for equipping the Chaos Terminators. Now again, these kits do come with a lot of detail on them, so make sure that you're very careful when you're removing them from the sprue and you're cleaning up the mod line so you don't accidentally remove any of the details off them. Now overall, if you're wanting to play a different style of Chaos Space Marine starting force, where you've got some good versatility as well as a good combination between range firepower and close combat potential, this is likely the option for you. Now last but certainly not least, we've got the instead of Combat Patrol option number 2. Now this is the second option that I've put together that you can go with instead of that Combat Patrol, and I've selected the following 3 kits for it. I've picked the Demon Prince, 10 Chaos Space Marine Legionnaires, and a Mauler Fiend / Forge Fiend kit. Now, the cost of this option is $60 for the Demon Prince, $98 for the 10 Chaos Space Marine Legionnaires, and $90 for the Forge Fiend / Mauler Fiend kit, coming to a total of $248. Now, this option does allow for a little bit less again, of a total maximum points of 575 points to use, depending on how you equip these kits. Now, there are several pros to starting off with this option, in my opinion. This option has got a good variety of choice between going down the firepower route or choosing to go more close combat heavy, depending on how you equip the Legionnaires and the Mauler Fiend / Forge Fiend, and you can also go a bit of a mix between both. And you can use all of these kits to legally make a patrol detachment to use for your first few combat patrol level games. However, as per usual, there are a few cons to going with this option as well. Much like I previously mentioned, these Legionnaires won't have all the pieces to take some of the options that they have access to, so you'll be somewhat limited by what you're able to do. And with larger models like the Demon Prince and the Forge Fiend / Mauler Fiend kit, you could find that these models might be a bit challenging to work with in terms of assembly and painting, so you're going to want to make sure you take your time with it, but that'll mean it takes more time hobbying rather than playing. So bear that in mind as well. And also, these kits have got a lot of detail in them. Now, I do want to note that the Demon Prince kit may be getting a revamp shortly, as there is a new version of it for the Slaves of Darkness in Age of Sigmar. We may be seeing that individual kit for 40k coming out as well. But all of them have got a lot of detail to them, so you're going to want to be careful when you're removing them from the sprues, as well as cleaning off those mold lines. However, as a whole, this option gives you some much larger models to work with in the Demon Prince and the Mauler Fiend / Forge Fiend that you can use, and access to different rules and abilities through both of these units. Then this might be the option for you if you want to do something a bit different. So there you have it. There are the 3 different options. 1 is the Combat Patrol, and 2 instead of the Combat Patrol options that you could use, from my opinion, as some of the best starting options when wanting to start collecting a Chaos Space Marine army. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, well, I hope that you did enjoy this video on my opinion on some of the better ways to start off a Chaos Space Marine army. Now, if you do have any thoughts or opinions or comments or different suggestions of how to start off a Chaos Space Marine army, feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to hit it with a like, And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so you get notified as to when we are releasing more content here on the YouTube channel. Now, if you do want to have a live discussion about this further and you don't want to leave comments here, that's completely okay. Come and find me when I'm live over on Twitch, where I do stream a variety of content there, doing my own hobbying, going to tournaments and doing live coverage, as well as some live games from time to time as well, whether that's on a Tuesday morning or a Friday night on the Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time or Australian Eastern Standard Time, depending on the time of the year. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.